Okay, welcome to our class. Welcome to our YouTube space. This is an artist of the floating world part 3. So if you have not watched the part 1 and the part 2, please go over and watch the part 1 and part 2 so that you understand up to this point. So this is part 3 and let's go. So the other time we were doing the plot summary, okay? So you are doing the plot summary, and on the plot summary there are some of the parts that I was able to leave because I wanted the other video to be a little bit short. So you want to finish the plot summary of the previous class, okay? So this is the part 3. So when I say the previous class, I'm referring to part 2, okay? Yes. So now we want to focus on the remaining part of the summary. And the remaining part of the summary, there are plenty of things that we talked about. That other day we did not talk about the colleagues of Mr. Masuji Ono. So today we want to talk about some of the colleagues of Masuji Ono. Okay, so moving on, there's a certain colleague of Masuji Ono. He's called Yasunari Nakahara. His name is Yasunari Nakahara. And this Yasunari Nakahara, he was later given a nickname called the Tortoise. So why was he given the nickname Tortoise? He was given the nickname Tortoise because he was very slow in his painting work. The rest of his colleagues were able to make 6 or 7 canvases, but he was not now the Tortoise, now that is Yasunari Nakahara, was only able to make 2 or 3 canvases. So you can basically see the difference, 2 or 3, while he was making 2 or 3, while others were making about 6 or 7. So we can basically see that he was a little bit slow. So he was being referred to as the Tortoise. So Tortoise was now a colleague to Masuji Ono. They were working together at a place called Master Takeda. So, and remember, how did the Tortoise Yasunari Nakahara get into Master Takeda? A friend of a father to Yasunari Nakahara, that is the Tortoise, was able to recommend now Tortoise to Master Takeda. So that is how the Tortoise was able to get the job at Master Takeda. It was from a friend to his father who gave him the recommendation, and that is how he landed the job at Master Takeda. So because of his speed, he used to find a lot of challenges, but Ono was able to protect him and assist him during their time at Master Takeda. Masuji Ono convinces the Tortoise, who is now called Yasunari Nakahara as well, so that they can leave Master Takeda and now join another team now that is being led by somebody called Seiji Moriyama. So remember, Seiji Moriyama, Ono preferred to call him the Morisan. Okay, so the Morisan. So Ono convinces the Tortoise so that they can go and work together at the Morisan's villa. So they later move and they work together at the Morisan. So they work together at the Morisan, and Ono is also there to assist him. At the Morisan's villa, there was a certain colleague of Masuji Ono as well. He was called Sasaki. So there is also another colleague of Masuji Ono, but this now was at the Morisan's villa. Remember, Ono leaves Master Takeda and joins the Morisan's villa. So at Morisan's villa, there was Sasaki, and now Sasaki was the leader. During that time, he was the leader at the Morisan, okay? And he was always ensuring that the students were loyal to the art. They were loyal to the work of the Morisan. There's how Morisan had preferred his painting to be. So the painting of Morisan was to influence the Europeans It should have that resemblance of influencing the European culture. Another thing, there was to be a lantern. The lantern. There was to be the lantern. The lantern, and or if there was no lantern, then you could paint your art in a manner that it could resemble the lantern. So what is a lantern? Lantern is now the traditional means of lighting that the Japanese used back in the days. Okay, and lastly, but there were specific colors as well. So your painting, so from the Mori-san's point of view, your painting should show the European culture. It should influence the Europe. It should influence the Europe. It should have the lantern and specific colors. So Sasaki was now the leading student at Mori-san, at the Mori-san's villa. He was always ensuring that all other students, they were able to paint their art in that particular dimension. So at some point, Sasaki feels that he's now very superior, and he feels that he wants the student to follow him, okay, not the teacher. So at some point, Sasaki becomes disloyal. When we say disloyal, he is no longer guiding the student to follow the rules of Mori-san. Rather, now he's guiding the student to follow his views. So when Mori-san, that is Seiji Moriyama, realizes about this, he is very bitter, and he is very angry as well with now Sasaki. And now Sasaki is considered to be disloyal and a traitor. So Sasaki is basically forced out, and Sasaki leaves Mori-san. Okay? Yes. Later on, also Masuji Ono leaves the Mori-san's villa. And how did it happen? So, in the later stages, about 6 years later, while now Masuji Ono was working with the Mori-san, he met somebody called Matsuda. And Matsuda, who is Matsuda? Matsuda is basically one of the people who participated in Japan going to war, because he was a nationalist. So he was basically encouraging everyone to go to war. So he talks to Ono, and he tells Ono that there's something that I want us to do together. And what is it? He would like Ono to paint some paintings or to do some art which would encourage the soldiers, the young men of Japanese, to join the war, to join military, so that they can basically fight or participate in the war. So that is, and Ono is convinced, and he decides to basically now start to paint what? To paint now this propaganda posts. So and there are two of his paintings. Okay, there's one called the Complacency, and there's another one called Eyes for the Horizon. So in both the two paintings, that is the Complacency and the Eyes for the Horizon, Masuji Ono is able to evoke the spirit, evoke the emotions of the Japanese people to go to war. Okay, so remember, he did this while still working at the Mori-san's villa. So at some point, the Mori-san realizes that Masuji Ono has a different kind of painting nowadays. He's no longer loyal to the Mori-san. Some of his painting no longer influence the European culture. Rather, is having a different motive of writing this thing. So when Mori-san realizes that Masuji Ono has something different, his art are now different, he asks Ono to basically give some of his painting to him. Masuji Ono refuses to give him the painting, and after that, he's able to join the dots that Masuji Ono nowadays is painting a different type of art. Okay, and now at that time, Mori-san was not part of that, because Mori-san believed in a different type of painting. Okay, so he did not support supporting Japan going to war and all that. This propaganda, he did not want this propagandist painting. So Then he asked Ono if he can basically leave those things and now focus on his recommended painting. Ono refuses, and Ono decides to continue with the propagandist painting. Then now, Morisan tells Ono that we cannot continue together, we just have to leave. So that is how Ono leaves also the Morisan. And now he leaves the Morisan's villa, and now is fully working together with who? Matsuda. So they are now working together with Matsuda. And the society in which they work, it's called Obadan Shigen Society. So he leaves Morisan's villa and he joins the society, which is now called Obadan Shigen Society. So this Obadan Shigen Society, it is a society that it is a group of people who their main purpose in that group is to support Japan to go to war, so that Japan can basically expand her territories. Okay, so and their leader is Matsuda, and there are other people as well, and Masuji Ono is now part of the team who has just joined them. Okay, so that is how it goes, and they are able to convince many people. They later go to war and they lose in the war. There's also let's talk about something called Migidari. Let's also talk about something called Migidari. Migidari was a bar. Other than the Mrs. Kawakami's place, there was also another bar called Migidari. So this bar, the owner of this bar was called Yamagata. Yamagata was the owner of this bar. And when this bar was being launched, by that time, Ono was very influential and was very popular. So Ono assists Yamagata to expand his bar, and eventually is able also to put a table for Ono. So there is now a table in the bar that is put solely for Ono. So Ono is able to use that table for his students, because at some point Ono also decided to mentor some people. That is now Shintaro and Kuroda. So at Migidari is where now Ono used to catch up with his student. It's where they use also to drink sake. Sake is the Japanese alcohol. They used to drink sake with his students. He used to do some painting there as well. They also used to mentor them at that point. So Migidari, it is owned by Yamagata, but it was expanded after Masuji Ono's intervention, because he was able to take some resources and also assist in expanding it. So Migidari, other than Mrs. Kawakami's place, they also have Migidari, where the main function of Migidari is now where Ono does his mentorship, or even we can call it to assist the students to paint. That is now his own work. The main reason for Migidari is now Ono's that is where it is like his office, where he mentors these Shintaro and Kuroda. We also need to talk about Yukio Naguchi. Yukio Naguchi, he's a singer. So he used to sing the military songs. He used to support the Japanese people to go to war. Okay? He used to support the Japanese people to go to war. How? He used to sing these military songs. Okay? Let's proceed. So we want to talk about Yukio Naguchi. So Yukio Naguchi used to sing the military songs. And these military songs, they were able to motivate the Japanese people to go to war. So the Japanese people, they decide to go to war. And there are many people who have supported them. They have emotionally. And this is now Yukio Naguchi. So at some point, Yukio Naguchi realizes that he supported these people to go to war. Okay? He supported these people to go to war. Then, what happens? He supported these people to go to war. Then at some point, Japan lost the war. So according to the culture that is there in Japan, when you wrong the community and you don't want to ask for apology, the best way to do it is to do the harakiri. So Yukio Naguchi decides to basically commit suicide. So he kills himself so that he was feeling the burden, he was feeling the pain that he was part of the people who led Japan to war, and they were able to the majority of their buildings, infrastructure were destroyed. There are many orphans because people have lost their parents, and many people have also died. So he was feeling that burden, he was feeling that pain. So how could he get himself out of it? By killing himself, and it is part of the culture that these Japanese people believe in. What else have we not captured? What else have we not captured? Also at the end, we are able to see that Noriko, she's expectant. We are expecting a baby from Noriko. And also at the end, also Setsuko. Remember, Setsuko is married to a man called Suichi. They're also expecting their second child after Ichiro. Remember, their first child is Ichiro. Yes, Noriko also on the other end, she's also expecting her first child because Noriko is married to somebody called Taro Saito. Is there anything meaningful we have not talked about in our plot summary? We have captured majority of the things in the book. We have captured majority of the things in that book. So with that, there are also plenty of other things that you can read by yourself, and you can basically try and capture them. But with that, I want to consider the main summary of the Artist of the Floating World is done, and we'll continue to now do further analysis and maybe focus on the essay questions. Thank you so much. That's the end.